Hello, this is Lynn from Linnovation, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'd like to introduce a new product I've been working on called CTR2-Flex. What CTR2-Flex is a hardware firmware combination that allows you to connect directly to your Flex radio using Wi-Fi. It doesn't require an intermediate third-party program and can run with any version of SmartSDR, whether it's the Windows version or the Apple. The screen I've got up right now is SmartSDR for Mac, and I've got a video running of CTR2-Flex in the corner, so you can see how I can operate the Flex and the program at the same time. Before we get going, let's talk about the hardware that makes CTR2-Flex. We drag this on screen. The packaging for the new CTR2-Flex looks identical to CTR2-Dial. I have both the new age enclosures and the 3D printed enclosures available in either dual encoder models or single encoder models. The only difference between CTR2-Dial and CTR2-Flex from the outside is the CTR2-Flex label. You'll also notice that on the dual encoder units, the encoders are slightly farther apart and up closer to the dial than on CTR2-Dial dual encoder models. Another major change is that the dual encoder models of CTR2-Flex support the CW paddle input jack, where the CTR2-Dial hardware doesn't support the paddle input jack. What makes CTR2-Flex different than a dial is what's inside. You'll see on the left the photo of the internals on the dial are fairly simple, just a couple of small circuit boards that interface the encoders to the M3 dial. On the CTR2-Flex, you'll notice that it has a circuit board with the two encoders. You can see the backs of the encoders here. It has an I2C port expander chip on it that allows both encoders and the CW input jack up here to be interfaced with just a single I2C port off the M5 dial. The other port on the M5 dial is an output port that drives a side tone oscillator with the volume control on it. This allows me to use dual encoders and provide a CW input jack at the same time. The reason the Flex version has a side tone oscillator on it is because the firmware includes an internal keyer, which isn't needed on CTR2-Dial, because on CTR2-Dial, the app that it interfaces to provides the keyer. On CTR2-Flex, the internal keyer drives the radio in CW mode, so it can key the radio over the IP network. It's worth noting here that CTR2-Dial firmware can run on a dual encoder CTR2-Flex unit. This provides two encoders and a CW jack if that's one of the things that you're looking for. Okay, let's take a look at the software that runs on the M5 dial for CTR2-Flex. You'll notice that it looks very similar to CTR2-Dial because it's based on the same source code. So you have the same functions. You have the virtual dial. You have button functions. And you have knob A and knob B functions that you can select from. One of the things you'll notice right off the bat is there's more information, say on the VFO. As I tune the VFO, you can see I'm tuning the frequency shown on the virtual VFO, in addition to what's on the display. There's a few extra controls. I can change the frequency resolution right on the front screen if I want to go higher or lower. I can just press the resolution at the bottom. It also has the ability to zero out the digits below the resolution. You'll notice that I'm set for 1000 Hertz resolution as I tune the VFO. And you'll also notice that I'm offset by 600 Hertz here. on the actual VFO frequency. If I want to go directly to 28061 megahertz, I just hit the 0 button twice, and it zeroes out everything below the 1000 hertz. Okay, let's go back to the main dashboard. As I said previously, it has the buttons. It has the knob A and knob B functions. The PTT function is slightly different. Also, it has the ability to be turned off. It has the ability to go to momentary push to talk. And you can switch it to latching push to talk. So that gives you an idea of the difference between that and the dial. The big difference in CTR2-Flex over the dial is it has a dashboard. Because it's a controller instead of just a MIDI controlling device that outputs MIDI codes, it's actually communicating with the radio over the Flex API. That gives me the ability to pull in all the data I want off of the radio and display it. So here you can see that I'm on the dashboard now, and this is the home page of the dashboard. It shows me that I have slice A active, but the main feature is the frequency. I can select it and then just turn encoder knob A to change the frequency by the selected resolution. I can also highlight the frequency bar and just drag my finger across the frequency bar to tune frequency. I can do that while not covering it up with my finger too. After 3 seconds, it'll revert to unselected. But regardless, anytime an object is highlighted with the blue box around it, that means the A encoder can control it. I'll show that in the next few steps. If I need to change slices, I can select slice on the top, and that takes me to the Panadapter screen. The Panadapter screen is where I can adjust the zoom on the Panadapter. I can adjust the upper and lower ranges of the Panadapter. Mostly what I can do is that I can go here and I can select a different slice, hit change. Now the program logs off of slice A and then it reinitializes it to slice B. So now I've got slice B available. Okay, you'll notice also that the caption of the display changes now. It's on slice B, and it's also displayed in red. It's displayed in red because slice B is active for transmit mode. If I change slice A to be active in transmit mode, then you'll notice that slice B on the CTR2-Flex display turns back to the normal text color. And one of the things I can do is if I need to change that is I just press the encoder. I'll press encoder A or knob A, and that toggles transmit enable on and off. Okay, I can go back to the A slice, and you'll notice that it follows up here. Now I'm on the A slice, and it changes and moves. Transmit is now enabled on the A slice. I can turn that off again if I want, turn it back on. Another option that's on the home screen here is the 0 option. So say for instance, I've changed my frequency and I want to 0 that. I can push the encoder. Let me back the screen up a little bit so you can actually see me touching the encoders. I've got both encoders here. This is the A and this is B. So if I touch and turn the encoder, you'll notice that the frequency resolution or frequency step changes. So I can quickly change my frequency resolution by just pressing the encoder and turning it. If I want to 0 everything below the step digit, which is 1000 hertz right now, I just hit the 0 button here. And now I'm zeroed out. I can also press the frequency button on the bottom. And what that does is brings up a keyboard. I can now enter any frequency I want into it. I can either backspace and delete frequencies that are there right now, and then hit kilohertz, or I can delete the current frequency and enter a whole new frequency. And then I hit M for megahertz, K for kilohertz, H for hertz, depending on where I've placed my decimal. Now I can jump right to the frequency that I entered. Okay, also on the home screen, you'll notice several other buttons. They don't look like buttons, they look like just text, but they're all buttons. Let me back that up just a little bit. So the antenna button up on the top left corner, if I press that, gives me the antenna screen. Now I can quickly select whatever antenna I want on my radio, and then I can jump back to the home screen. I'm on 20 meters, that shows in the middle button. If I want to change bands, I simply click that. Now I'm back on 10 meters. Okay, now I've brought the receiver control up so I can demonstrate the functions of the filter button. The filter button is the one up on the top right-hand corner. Open that up. I have the high cut I can adjust with my knob. I can also just press it and turn it red, and now I can adjust the high cut with my finger. It's a little slower, but it works. It's easier just to move it with the encoder knob. A little bit of clutter on the screen there needs to be worked on. Okay, I can go to the low cut, change my low cut frequency, and you'll notice over here the filter screen reflects the changes that I'm making. And I can go to the offset, and now I can change the offset of the filter and move my bandwidth above or below anywhere I want. The bandwidth control allows me to step through the default bandwidths for the current mode that I'm in. Okay, next up we'll look at the receiver screen. The receiver screen allows you to adjust the volume. I can either do it with the encoder knob, or I can do it with selecting it and dragging my finger. Same with the squelch. I can adjust it with the encoder knob or just drag my finger. And AGC threshold, same thing. I can adjust the AGC between the various settings here at the bottom, and I can also adjust the gain amplifier on the front end. Move that down a little bit. So now I have a lot of control just from the receiver screen. If I hit the toggle, it does the same thing as touching the control. Okay, escape out. The middle button in the top is the mode button. This allows me to quickly switch modes between the available modes. Okay, the DSP screen allows me to adjust the wide noise blinker. I can either do it with the encoder knob, or I can do it by clicking and dragging. You also adjust the noise blinker. I can adjust the noise reduction. And I can adjust the auto peaking filter or the auto notching filter depending on which mode I'm in. You'll notice I adjust the value here. The screen doesn't update, and that's because on SmartSDR for Mac, these displays aren't interactive with other connected devices. But if I adjust this level and then close the screen and reopen it, you'll notice that the level's changed. To enable or disable these functions, I simply touch the function. When it's inverted like that, the function's on. Okay, the noise reduction is on. When I touch it again, the noise reduction is off, and that's the same for any one of these functions. Okay, the next up is the TX transmit menu. That allows me to adjust the power out, the tune power, and the mic gain. So if I bring the transmit up, I can adjust the power out level here. Again, I can click on it and just drag it with my finger. I can adjust the tune output, same thing. Or I can adjust the microphone gain, again with my finger or the knob. I can enable the auto tuner by selecting it here, pressing execute. It runs through an auto tune. I can click the bypass button to bypass it. Okay, next up is the RIT XIT window. Same thing, I can click on it, drag my finger back and forth, or adjust it with my knob, the A knob. Once I get it offset, I can hit the 0 button to bring it back to 0. Same with transmit XIT. And finally, I've got a miscellaneous menu on the right bottom. The miscellaneous screen has several different pages in it, and I go between them by hitting the page button. So you'll see there's a keyer page where I can adjust the speed of the keyer. There's a delay where I can adjust the delay of the keyer. And there's a side tone level where I can adjust the side tone value. If you'll notice up on the display, that's where I'm adjusting side tone value. The speed adjustment also adjusts the speed on the radio. So if you don't use the internal keyer on the CTR2-Flex and just plug your paddles into the radio, you can still adjust the speed of your keyer by just having this button selected. That's also on a virtual dial control. So if you just want to use the CTR2-Flex as a speed control, you can leave that virtual dial up all the time and just have it for when you want it. You can also assign it to the B. Let me jump out of here real quick, and we'll go to the B knob, and we'll just assign the speed control to the B knob. This is one of the new features here. I can select a function on the knob menu, and while it's highlighted, I can adjust the A encoder, the A knob, which is off screen here, but it's to my left. I can click it and then just turn the A knob to select which control I want the B knob to be. Now when I turn the B knob, I'm adjusting speed. If I select volume, I can turn the B knob to select volume. But say I want it as a speed knob, I can go back to my dashboard now and do anything I want to do. I can tune the radio, but my B knob is always going to be the speed. Let me back up a little bit again. So I can tune the radio with my A knob, and I can tune the speed with my B knob. If I want to change that again, I go back to the knob menu. I can select volume now, go back to the dashboard. Now I've got frequency control, and I've got volume control. The next menu after the keyer is the macro select menu. From here I can select from one of 9 macros and send any one of them by hitting the play button. Okay, I don't have the transmit enabled on the radio, so these aren't going out over the air. So I could use this for code practice mode if I wanted. I can also edit a macro. I select my macro, press the edit button. Now I can use the A encoder to change the character that I want it to send. I can turn the encoder to move the cursor. I can insert or delete spaces to add more characters or remove characters. The caret key down here is a special function that will send your call sign when it gets to that point. Okay, and finally the last page here is the Panadapter page. We've already visited it, but this is where it is. It's under the Miscellaneous screen. The Panadapter page is easy to get to. Just hit the slice button. The last thing I'd like to demonstrate is running CTR2-Dial firmware on a CTR2-Flex hardware base. The unit on the left is running CTR2-Flex, and I've loaded the CTR2-Dial firmware onto the unit on the right. It's a dual encoder CTR2-Flex with the key jack on the back, so it has the capability of keying the radio. So first of all, since the Flex is Wi-Fi based, we need to connect it. We'll get that started. But you can see the dial's already connected. It doesn't need to connect. It's connected through the USB port back here to the radio firmware up here. If I go to the Tools menu, CTR2 Dial Controller, you'll see that it's connected to the Stamp S3 device. The Stamp S3 device is the name of the USB MIDI port on the CTR2 dial. So I have control over the VFO on the dial firmware now that I'm connected. And I'll go to the dashboard here. I also have control over the frequency, volume, everything else, same as if I had CTR2 dial controlling it. As I change one, you'll see the frequency changes here and on the display, and I can change the frequency on the CTR2 dial, which changes the frequency on CTR2-Flex and also on the radio. I can also change the slice on the Flex unit. Let's move it over to slice B. Now that creates slice B, and you'll notice that the dial unit also follows slice B. It follows the selected unit in the software. So if I select slice A, CTR2 dial follows slice A, but since I connected the Flex unit to slice B, it stays on slice B. You'll notice that the transmit is still set up on slice B. If I press the encoder on the Flex unit, I can enable or disable the slice transmit, but I can't enable A because it's not aware of A. So if I enable A with the mouse, now this unit has transmit control. I can go back to B by pressing the encoder over here. Now B has transmitter control. Okay, that pretty much rounds out the firmware as it is today. I'd be interested in your comments below. If you've got ideas that could be added to the program or things that don't make sense, I'd be happy to hear about those too. I appreciate your time and watching the videos that I make. I know I'm not the best presenter in the world, but I'm the one that does it. So we'll be posting additional videos in the future. Keep and subscribe to my channel if you want to be notified of additional videos. 73.